All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Blake with EXP Realty, and I'm really excited today to chat with a gentleman named Tony. Tony's out of the Atlanta area, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and kind of why he's on the call today. Tony, take it.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Tony Williams, been with EXP a little over a year, and I was with RE/MAX 33 years, 25 years as a broker owner of 3 franchises. You know, between 150 and 175 agents in the last 15 years of that. And we were doing about 250 transactions a month. And
Wow.
I enjoyed being with RE/MAX, but when I saw EXP, things changed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you said you had 3 different offices when you're with RE/MAX?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Marietta, Georgia was my primary, and then Cartersville, Georgia, and Austell.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And the proximity of those are relatively close, or?
Yeah, they're on the northwest side of Atlanta.
Okay.
You might think of it in between Atlanta and Chattanooga, about, say, 30 to 40 miles out of the city.
Okay.
And, within driving distance, 25, 30 minutes between each one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, got some interesting topics today. I would like to start by just, help me understand what some of the biggest reasons for you deciding to move such a large operation and brokerage over to the EXP model.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you I moved the entire operation over. We're rebuilding as we go, but
Okay.
I have a friend in the Nashville area that owned 15 RE/MAX franchises. He called me up and just said he wanted to talk one day, and we met close by where I live here near Atlanta. And I found out that he had left Nashville and lived near me. And he went through the EXP presentation, and I got it right away. And started thinking really on like what a broker goes through day to day, and how this would attract independent brokers.
Okay, interesting. And may I ask, are you familiar with Jay Nelson out of Nashville? Is that all intertwined, or is that a different connection?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, Jay Nelson used to be with RE/MAX in Nashville,
Yeah.
and Rob Campbell was his qualifying broker.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and Rob is the one that I went to meet with. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So Jay was with Rob at RE/MAX, and then he left to go to EXP first. Yeah,
Oh,
and then Jay got Rob into the business. Yeah.
got it. Because I actually went to a training in October of last year at Jay Nelson's house. So I was out there with, we had a mastermind group there, and I got a ton out of it. Bill is intertwined in that group, and Bill's out of Texas, so he's somebody that I look to as a mentor. And so very small world. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's all intertwined. But
yeah, I was online during that meeting. Yeah, I was watching the meeting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We had like 50 people at his house. It was chaos, but it was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I was actually at the hotel the day before.
Oh, you were?
And I was at the hotel, but I wasn't able to stay over to go out to his house.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man.
Great
Those guys are rock stars. Just listen to them talk. They make it seem like a no-brainer. I wish I could articulate like that myself, but we're working on it. So.
Sure. Yeah.
So, how did your agents react to the decision when you told them about the move? I mean, obviously not all of them came over, but I mean, what was that like?
Well, the transition really happened several years before, at the end of the recession around 2011.
Okay.
And we transitioned a lot of our agents into other RE/MAX operations. And then I went on board with one of the firms that I merged my agents into.
Okay.
And was the top producer in that RE/MAX operation for about 6 years. And then after talking to Rob, went to talk to the broker there, and we talked about, what it means to own a franchise and what it doesn't mean and things like that. And he was really interested in EXP, but he had just signed on for another 5 years on his franchise agreement.
Okay.
And then what we did, we brought our team over to EXP right away. And just as soon as I showed them the EXP plan, our entire team moved over. A small team, but we were doing between 80 and 100 transactions a year. Yeah.
What is that team construct of? How many agents is that?
Just four is all that's in that team, and then I have my group under that. I don't call my group or my downline my team.
Yes.
I have a close knit team with four,
okay.
and then we have the group under that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we call it the legacy group. Is what we call that.
Interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you see as the biggest challenges for the franchise model in real estate in the upcoming years? I mean, I think we can all agree there's going to be some major disruptions and changes over the next 5 years in real estate. What do you think that means for the franchise model?
Well, I tell you, you don't own a franchise. The franchise owns you is really what happens. And you sign a 5-year agreement, a renewal agreement, and you're stuck. For those 5 years until you can make a change. So not only are you paying for your brick and mortar buildings, but you're paying the franchisor over a long period of time on an agreement, and you have to keep a minimum number of agents. So, the thing is when you own a franchise like that, you're stuck. You're really stuck until you can figure out a way to get out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And the brick and mortar thing is really what brought a lot of people down during the recession.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You saw a lot of offices, get a lot smaller through that time. My dad actually had a large real estate group in the Brainerd Lakes area, which is a couple hours north of the Twin Cities. And, watching what it did to his business and to the leases they had in place and just the impacts on so many people's lives in the construction and real estate world, it was pretty devastating just to see that and go through that whole deal. I mean, it was pretty sad. One question I have: when you were at Remax, what was the franchise fee on each transaction that they took? Did they collect like a percentage of of each deal for the franchise fee or whatever they called it, or how did that work at Remax with your arrangement?
Well, we had a lot of people that were grandfathered in on a 100% commission concept, so we collected a fee every month, and then. Toward the end, there in 2009, 2010, they started collecting anywhere from a 2 to 5% franchise fee on every transaction before the split or before the commission arrangement, for the broker.
Okay.
And for instance, let's say we collected $1,000 a month. Nearly $400 of that went to Remax every month, and then they collected a franchise fee on top of that.
Correct. Yeah.
Per transaction.
Yeah. When I came from Coldwell Banker, that's where I started my real estate career. And I was on a 90-10 split there, but they had a 6% franchise fee on every transaction. And along with all the other fees that they collected as well. But, it was just hard to swallow that every month and see that, big amount go out, and there was no cap. And, or at least they never told me about the cap, let's put it that way. So,
I try to explain to agents that I'm bringing into EXP when we start talking about revenue shares. Every broker in this country has revenue shares in their office. It's just that the broker is the one that receives them. Right. So when an agent comes into an office, say on a 60-40, they do a number of transactions, they move up to a 70-30, maybe an 80-20. That broker, they're very hesitant of changing that commission split, because the money coming into the office is what they pay their overhead with, and that is their share of revenue. So the way I look at EXP is every agent has an opportunity to earn what a broker would have earned, in the old model.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one thing that I get some pushback on is, the fact that we don't have a physical space or it's what you call a dedicated physical space, with an office. But, obviously teams sometimes require that physical space, or they desire it for their team. What does that look like for you guys? Are you guys running any physical space at all, or how do you operate?
No, we don't need physical space. Now, we use Regis for our closings, or maybe to meet with a client who says, "Where's your office?" We may do something like that, but most of the time, 98% of the time, we're going where the client is. We're meeting in the restaurants, we're meeting in homes, things like that. There's no real demand here for office. Now, teams, if you want to get together from time to time, that's one thing. But we use the cloud space for our team as well to meet inside the cloud to run our meetings from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I found too is I found myself only really going to the office for the Tuesday meetings. And a lot of times it was just, giving the pat on the back that had a new listing or a new sale. And there just wasn't a lot of meat or actually, interesting topics that I could apply to my business. And so I struggled finding value in spending the half hour to get to the office and do all that. And the small talk that just didn't really seem to lead anywhere. And, to be honest, a lot of the bigger teams that were actually selling weren't at the meeting because they were all busy selling. And, it was a lot of people that were there to get the coffee and donuts and hope to, maybe find out about a new transaction or something. But I just didn't see a lot of value in that. I think that's going to continue to evolve as people still, real estate is, I consider it kind of an old dinosaur as far as the way that it operates. And it was a breath of fresh air just seeing what EXP was doing when I was presented the opportunity 2 years ago. And
you have to really think of it from a broker's perspective, especially when you're talking to a broker or a team leader. Those folks are out there and they're trying to figure out content twice a month, 3 times a month. The thing is, there's a great demand on them to come up with good content. And if they're not plugged in, with technology or something somewhere that they can really teach, they've got a problem. So when Rob showed me the cloud and I noticed the number of classes that were on there, I thought, wow, these brokers, they're going to jump all over this because this provides what they need direct to the agents, and they're not having to come up with all that content all the time. So that was great to see the number of staff people inside, EXP World, the cloud, and all the training that went through there. And it took the pressure off the independent broker to get that done. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I think for a lot of people too, when I talk to them, especially agents that have been doing it for say 20 or 30 years. And, I think one thing that a lot of agents struggle with is figuring out their exit plan. Some agents decided to go the investment real estate route or have some rental properties or things like that. But if you're not doing that, it can be hard to ever really step aside and call it quits. And this model kind of forces you into doing that a little bit, which is, in my opinion, not such a bad thing.
Well, think of it this way. January and February of every year in our area is when all the awards, banquets, luncheons, all the boards get together. And what do they give out? They give out a plaque. Now, when I closed my office up, I took all those plaques and put them in the dumpster. Okay. They meant nothing to anyone. Now, last month, my daughter reached icon status with EXP. She didn't get a plaque. She got $12,000 worth of shares, and then she'll be going to the meetings and she'll pick up another $4,000 by going to those meetings because of icon status. The value of that long-term for a 30-year-old is absolutely incredible because they provided for her the shares that'll and she'll just hang on to them for a long time,
Right.
And then the thing we do is we opted into buying shares at the 20% discount on every closing as well. So long-term, you talk about exit strategies. Think about that. I've got 2 friends that are in the grocery business. A good example. We talked this week, and they wanted to know everything about why did you leave RE/MAX and join EXP. And they were telling me, they said, we had an opportunity 25 years ago at a grocery chain that they work for today of either taking lower per hour and getting shares or being paid higher per hour. And both of those guys chose lower per hour, and the company would give them shares. Today, they're both worth about $4 million apiece, just from those shares that were given to them as incentives through the years. And that's exactly what EXP is doing. They're providing shares back to the agents for ownership, and that's going to give a tremendous value for exit strategies one day. I wish I had heard about EXP when I was 22, getting into this business.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Years ago.
Congratulations to your daughter for hitting that. I'm 31 and I missed icon status by, I believe, 4 transactions last year. So I was a little salty about it, but I think we'll get there this year. That's the idea. But hey, it's a good thing to work towards. And even if you're not hitting icon status, I mean, you're still earning a lot of shares of stock, and you're still taking advantage of a lot of things that you just don't have options at different brokerages.
That's right. That's right. And, the way that she looks at it, she has the $16,000 cap on her 80/20, but she's receiving all that back in shares now. Right. So essentially it was a wash. Her expenses were a wash. She gets the write-off, and then she gets the shares as well.
Right. Yeah. So there's some tax advantages. And then also too, if you're collecting, anything on the rev share side, that's just gravy on top of it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So what?
We really do appreciate the. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I actually want to tell you, we really appreciate the agents that are in our group now, because we're receiving revenue shares, along the same lines of what we received in commissions back in the early days, And so that thing is going to continue to grow, and that'll give me an exit strategy that, we missed. There's a lot of things happened during that recession. But what it does is it gives us the opportunity to build an exit strategy, and also, to mentor those that are coming behind us as well. We're certified mentors in the EXP program, and so we're training people coming up right now so they'll have a good, strong financial plan for their families. That's the reason we call it the legacy group. They're leaving a legacy behind based on what EXP has done for them.
Right, and I think that touches on, everyone talks about the high burnout rate in real estate, and how it's over, I believe, 70% in their first year don't make it out. And I think that's one of my favorite pieces of EXP is, as a new agent, I mean, you do have a lot of resources to lean on, and based on how the revenue share is set up, I mean, if I'm bringing a new agent, or you're bringing a new agent into the business and sponsoring that person into the business and being their mentor, I mean, what I call agent alignment, I've never seen at any other brokerage or any business in real estate, how, that person's success directly ties to my success. And I think it was really a genius way to set it up, because it really keeps everybody's interests going down the same path.
Right. Well, I was with Century 21 before, and then with RE/MAX all through those years. And we used to bring new agents in as the broker, as the qualifying broker, and try to pair them up with a top producer. Top producer, they weren't interested because there was nothing in it for them.
Right.
Like an agent. Yeah. Whenever I referred an agent to the office where I was before, when we were in the sales side, I get a Starbucks card. It's something like that. But you have an investment in this now as you mentor these people, because you want to see them succeed. Yeah. It's all about selling real estate and helping people do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I think real estate shares, being a broker, it has a similar mindset, and I hate to pick on the financial industry, but the financial industry, whether it be Northwestern Mutual or whatever company it is, they'll take 20 new grads and throw them against the wall and hope one or two sticks and makes it long term. And to me, that's kind of how real estate has operated for the last how many years. And I think
exactly.
I think it has a negative rep because of that. And my goal is, hopefully long term, EXP can show a lot better track record, and I really think they will, because of the way that we're structured. So we're going out with a brand new mentee this afternoon on a listing appointment. They're shadowing us today. And, top producing agents in other firms, they don't really like the idea of someone hanging on to them when they're out on, doing their business. But, at EXP, I've got a real value in seeing those people succeed. Yeah, I can raise my hand there. 2015, being a new agent, I experienced that exact thing, wondering, why aren't these guys more willing to help me out? And, you kind of realize everybody's in it for themselves. And, it's not their fault. It was just the model's fault. That's kind of the way I look at it is, incentives weren't there, and they saw me as potential competition down the road. And, I get it, I guess. But at the same time, it just doesn't.
Another way of looking at this is from time to time, I'll tell an agent that's been in the business a little while, have you tried to get into a mastermind group lately? And they'll say, well, look, I go, but, they're full. There's 10 around the table. There's no empty chairs. And matter of fact, I have to have an invitation to get in. And I'll tell them, I'll say, hey, look, you can join a mastermind group online in our cloud anytime you want to drop in. And there's incredible content in there and I'll give them a visitor's pass. They'll go in there and take a class, and then they come out and they go, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Sharing, ideas across, collaboration across the country and throughout Canada. You just don't get that when you go to a local mastermind group here in our town, because those people don't want you in the room. You're the competition to them.
Right. Right. No, I couldn't agree more. That's a really good point, actually, is getting somebody who is curious about EXP to come and take a class. That's a really good idea. I don't know if you ever get into the Friday morning iConversations class, but there's a lot of good conversations happening there. I really enjoy that one a lot. So that's
yeah, I do. I tell you what, I really enjoy, even though I've been in the business a long time, is 9 o'clock on Sunday night in Real Estate 101.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is an incredible trainer and gives great ideas,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can't say I've attended that one. I might have to
go try it out.
Real
Estate 101 on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock in the auditorium.
All right.
I want to say there's over 300 that attend.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start your week too, really get your mindset going and everything on the right track. So what has been your biggest surprise being at EXP? Is there anything that really just surprised you from the move?
Yeah, I mean, right before we moved, I was with Commissions Inc. A lot of people know it as just Sync, and it's a CRM where we would attract, prospects and then follow up, and it would do an automated. I was paying $2,300 a month for that service.
Wow.
And then when I talked to Rob, and he was telling me at that time about conversions, which would, advance up to KV Core, I looked at it and he said, now really, if you'll take a look at this is everything and more that you're using now. And I said, well, how much are we talking about? He said, $50 a month. I said, what? It was included in the education, at EXP. That was one of the biggest surprises. So now what we've done is we've developed KV Core into a real machine where we do strategies to find the people and to squeeze them into our system on our squeeze pages and do all the follow-up. So that is one of the biggest things we saved on a monthly basis, and now we're back to really, generating those leads and following up on those leads through the system.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a really interesting point. So I've only known KV Core. I've been doing that now for a little over a year and starting to get pretty good at it and pretty familiar with the systems. That being said, we do have options to use Commissions Inc. as well at EXP. I haven't gone down that trail just for time and whatever else reasons. You've used both. So having done both, I mean, you kind of think KV Core is better or just different, or how would you determine the difference between the two?
I'll tell you this. Well, before Commissions Inc., in order to qualify to use their system, you had to have 70 transactions per year. Okay. Wow. So I talked to the guys down at Commissions Inc. about what was going on at EXP. And finally someone told me, says, it may be a watered down version when you get it that cheap, Okay. So that's the reason I stayed with KV Core. So I've seen things inside KV Core that are more advanced, and at the same time, I've seen things with Commissions Inc. that are more advanced. But KV Core seems to be, improving all the time. I really like the conversation and where they're going with that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible the power that it does hold. Have you leveraged? Do you do any? Do you push any of your lead generation tools, online lead gen, into KV Core? Have you done any of that, or how are you leveraging it right now? As far as online that are dumping into it, or?
Yeah, we don't purchase, leads on Zillow or anything like that anymore. So, we don't push leads that are purchased. There's just too much competition in that field.
Yeah.
Even Realtor.com, they changed the way they set that up, and there's so much competition when you get a call.
Right.
So what we do is we work with the squeeze pages. We work with the listings that are in our area. One of the things that a guy in Georgia here is doing, he literally goes out and creates buyer squeeze pages on local builders' properties here. He'll go to a builder and say, look, is it okay if I bring buyers to you? And they're, sure, yeah, bring buyers. Okay, can I advertise those, in my websites? Yeah, sure, we don't care as long as he brings the buyers. So he's advertised in 50, 60 properties as though it were his listings.
Yep.
And he has full disclosure, full permission with those builders.
Wow.
And bringing it. So that's one of the things we're implementing that we learned about this past week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll do that directly through the core.
Yeah, I did hear about those Realtor.com changes. That's obviously a big deal. I think that's now being pushed through OpCity, if I remember correctly, which we actually have access to through EXP, but you're going to pay, 30 to 35% for each lead. Could be good for somebody who's a new agent that just wants some deals to push through. That being said, I will add to your comment about Zillow. I've spent a lot with Zillow. I've peeled it back quite a bit. I'm still spending a little bit with them. I haven't fully cut ties with them yet, but what I have noticed about Zillow is in a large metropolitan area like Atlanta, Minneapolis, I think those markets are overran with people doing the Zillow thing. Whereas I know some agents in smaller Minnesota markets that are having a lot of success with Zillow because there's not very much competition. And so they've been able to double their business because of it, so on and so forth. But over time, that's going to get ran out too, because, the competition always catches up. And I think that's, something where you can't have all your Zillow basket, or any basket for that matter.
We have OpCity here in the Atlanta market, but there's so many people subscribe to it. You would have 8, 9. Well, you get someone on the phone and they're already upset by the number of people that have already called. We're calling 2-3 minutes after the notification, and they're like, "What in the world? Why has so many people called us in the past 5 minutes?" And they're upset about how that's being shared out. So we don't purchase leads like that anymore. Yeah. Now we have some lender relationships where we'll pay 25-30% back, but that's just a whole different. If I can get 1-to-1 or maybe 1 lead to 2 agents, yes, but I'm not going to go out there and spend my time trying to fight with 6, 7, 8 agents. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think leveraging a relationship, I have a preferred lender that I work with here locally, and that relationship is important for both sides, and we both value it, and we both bring deals to each other, and it's a win-win for both of us. And I think a lot of agents miss that opportunity to it's not about pushing a client into one option for a lender, but it's just explaining to them, especially when you find a lender who's really good and can work across all kinds of different deals. You can really leverage that as an agent to make sure that they're giving you some business back or helping with your marketing expense too. So
there's different things that the lender can help you with. One of the things that we've done is after the closing have a housewarming party, and what we do is we ask our buyer to give us the names of everyone they want to invite. We send out the invitations there. We've got the database, and then our lender provides all the food. We're there to meet all their friends as well, and that goes over great.
Oh, that's
just a housewarming party after the closing. We'll send out all the invitations. We'll just say, tell us who you want to invite. How do we contact them? We contact them, and that's an invitation, for us, and we get to know them there at the party as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
helps us with it. Yeah.
That's pretty much the topics that I wanted to discuss. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, or any major aha moments you've had in the last few months in real estate, or anything else the viewers might gravitate towards? Or
well, the thing we talked a little bit about the recession, and we're right at the 10-year anniversary of that recession, and my wife and I, we were on CBS News this past week, and that seems to be spreading, that little telecast seems to be spreading around. The best things that happened to us, RE/MAX was so good. I have no complaints about RE/MAX whatsoever. But the best thing that ever happened was when Rob showed up one day and said, "I got to tell you something." And when he explained to me in just 3 points, commissions, shares, ownership, and revenue shares, I got it right away. And honestly, it's the best thing that we've ever done. And we're seeing our group, our legacy group, grow. And it's great to see some of these guys setting up some long-term income that they had no possibility of doing before. I'll ask an agent, "Hey, look, the last transaction comes along. What are you going to do now?" And they'll go, "Well, that's just the last transaction, I guess." I said, "No, there's more to this if you allow that to happen." And EXP, has invested back into us man, I'm telling you, it's just a great opportunity we have here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, if you don't mind, I would love to see that CBS clip. Maybe try to send me that.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah. Really appreciate the time. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. We'll probably see you at an event soon, I suppose.
Okay. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
All right.